I've never been the kind of guy who needs a lot for his birthday. Give me a six-pack, a couple of steaks on the grill, maybe a good game on TV, that's more than enough. But this year felt different. It was our first summer in the new place, a modest two-story with a wide backyard just outside Bend, Oregon. Fresh start. Fresh air. New neighbors we barely knew and coworkers I wasn't sure I even liked yet. I was content keeping things small. Quiet. Courtney had other plans. This one has to be special, she told me a month before. New house, new chapter, new vibe. We're celebrating it properly this time. I should have known then. She took the reins completely, every detail. The invitations, the menu, the lighting. I offered to help set up a playlist or man the grill, but she waved me off. I've got this, she said with that signature Courtney confidence. You just relax. It's your day. By the time guests started arriving, it was clear this wasn't just a backyard party. It was a full-on social event. Our usually quiet lawn had been transformed. String lights stretched overhead like something out of Pinterest, wooden tables set with flowers and name cards, a drink station with infused water and signature cocktails. The music was soft, curated, even a kind of chill indie folk playlist that didn't belong to either of our Spotify accounts. I greeted people with a beer in hand, trying to enjoy it. Everyone was in a good mood, complimenting the setup, saying how lucky we were to find such a perfect place, how great Courtney looked. And yeah, she did. She wore this deep navy dress I hadn't seen before, short, fitted, sleeveless. Her heels sank slightly into the lawn with each step, but she didn't seem to notice. Hair done up loosely, makeup heavier than usual. She looked like she was ready for a gala, not a birthday barbecue. I chalked it up to her going all out, wanting things to be just right. I'll admit, part of me was proud. She turned heads. She always did. But there was something else there, a feeling I couldn't quite place. The way she laughed a little louder than usual. The way she floated through the crowd like a hostess more than a wife. The way she kept glancing at her phone between conversations. The whole night had this strange hum underneath it, like a note out of key that no one else seemed to hear. It wasn't until late in the evening, most people had loosened up, plastic cups half full, conversations fading into low background chatter, that I went inside to grab more ice. Simple errand. Just a moment away from the crowd. And that's when I saw them. Courtney was in the kitchen, standing next to a man I'd never seen before. He wasn't dressed like most of my friends, no flannel or jeans. He had this fitted polo and dark chinos, the kind of outfit that says I care how I look, but not too much. He had this casual confidence to him, that subtle arrogance some guys wear like cologne. They were standing close. Not indecent, but close. Her hand was on the counter, inches from his. They were laughing, something private, something that made her tilt her head the way she does when she wants someone to feel like the center of the universe. And that's when I saw it. A faint smudge of lipstick on his collar, left side, just above the button. A deep berry color. The same exact shade Courtney had carefully applied in front of the bathroom mirror just hours before, asking if it was too much for a cookout. He didn't notice me at first. She did. Her eyes flicked toward me like she'd heard the fridge door open before I touched it. Oh hey, she said quickly, pushing away from the counter. Jack, come meet Tony, he's my trainer. Trainer? That word felt heavy the moment it left her mouth. Trainer? I repeated, eyes locked on the guy. From the studio, she said. The one I go to after work. He's great. Helped me a lot these past few months. Tony gave me a smooth nod. Happy birthday, man. Thanks, I said flatly. My eyes lingered on his collar. The smudge was faint, but it was there. Everything okay? Courtney asked, her voice light but tight. Yeah, I replied. Just needed ice. There was a pause. Just a few seconds. But long enough. I'll grab it, she said quickly, opening the freezer and handing me the bag. Thanks, I muttered. I didn't move. I just stood there, holding the ice, waiting for someone to explain what the hell that moment was supposed to be. Instead, she slipped her arm around mine and guided me back toward the door. Let's not be rude, people are waiting to sing. That was it. No real explanation. No introduction beyond a label. And when we walked outside, it was like nothing had happened. Tony disappeared into the crowd, chatting with someone near the grill. Courtney leaned in and whispered, "Don't make this weird, okay? You're overthinking." But I wasn't. The rest of the night went on like a movie I wasn't part of anymore. I smiled when people talked to me. I nodded, toasted, made jokes. But all I could think about was that moment in the kitchen. Her body language. His shirt. The lipstick. And the way she dismissed it all so easily, like I was being paranoid for even noticing. That's what got me the most. It wasn't just the scene itself, it was how quickly she brushed it aside. The calmness. The way she didn't seem surprised. Like she'd rehearsed it. We'd always shared everything. Passwords, phones, calendars. If a guy like that had been part of her life even as a trainer, I'd have known. But I didn't. And suddenly I realized how much I didn't know anymore. That night, after the last guests had left and the last candle had burned out, I lay awake in bed beside her. She fell asleep almost immediately, probably exhausted from all the hosting, or maybe just at peace with how perfectly her plan had played out. I stared at the ceiling for hours, ice bucket still full on the patio table outside, wondering how long this had been going on. I didn't say anything that night. I didn't pick a fight or dig for details. I just let it settle inside me, a stone dropped into still water. Because I already knew. This wasn't nothing. This was the first trace. After the party, nothing was the same. At least not for me. Courtney moved through the week like everything was normal, going to work, cooking dinner, texting on the couch with her feet curled under her like she used to. But it all felt staged, like I was watching someone play a version of my wife. Not the real her. Not the woman I married. Just a performance. And somehow I was the only one who'd caught the crack in the stage lights. It started small, little things that would have meant nothing on their own. Like how she suddenly had training sessions every Tuesday and Thursday evening. They used to be twice a week, flexible. Now they were set in stone, non-negotiable. 3 hours, minimum. And when she got home, she was either buzzing with energy or completely drained, no in-between. One night she came in flushed, hair up, hoodie half-zipped. Her cheeks were pink, but it wasn't from exercise. Not that kind of pink. Or how she stopped leaving her phone around. That one hit fast. We used to share everything. If she was upstairs and I got a text from her mom, she'd yell down, "Can you answer that?" Yeah? The phone was always face down, on silent, password locked. A new password. She hadn't changed it in years, and when I asked about it, she brushed it off. Just good habit. You never know with data leaks and stuff. She said it so casually, like it was common sense. But my gut twisted. Then there were the looks. The distant stares across the dinner table. Her eyes would drift past me while I talked. Not bored, checked out. Like she was somewhere else, living another life in her head. Maybe she already was. I remembered something weird from the week before the party, something I hadn't thought twice about at the time. I'd come home early from work, around 4:30. I opened the front door and heard her voice, low and hushed, coming from the kitchen. She was on the phone, pacing, murmuring something I couldn't make out. When I stepped inside and called out, she jumped. Ended the call immediately. Work call, she said quickly. Nothing important. It didn't sound like a work call. It sounded, in asterisk, mate. Careful. Back then, I let it go. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to trust her. But after the kitchen scene at the party, her with that man, the lipstick, the laugh that didn't belong to me anymore, everything started to click into place. Things that once felt harmless now felt suspicious. Little inconsistencies. Changed routines. That slightly different perfume she wore some nights. The way she started showering the moment she got home, even if it was already late. I stopped sleeping well. I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just lie there, listening to her breathe beside me, wondering who she was when I wasn't around. One morning, she got up early, earlier than she ever had for work. Said she had a team meeting at 7:30 and needed to beat traffic. She left in a rush, barely touched the coffee she'd made, and didn't kiss me goodbye. I sat there with her untouched mug in front of me, the steam curling like a question mark. 10 minutes later, I grabbed my keys and followed her. I didn't know what I expected to find. Maybe I wanted to prove myself wrong, catch her turning into the office parking lot, walk away feeling stupid and relieved. But she didn't go to work. She drove to a strip of upscale condos on the west side of town, nowhere near her office. I parked across the street and waited. 20 minutes passed. 30. Then he stepped out, Tony. Same guy from the party. He walked her to the door, handed her something. They laughed. She touched his arm. It wasn't Zool. Not blatantly. But it was an asterisk, mate. Familiar. She didn't notice me. Later that day, when she came home, she acted like nothing had happened. Told me work was a mess, traffic was brutal, asked if we still had leftovers for dinner. I nodded. Pretended to believe her. I was starting to realize how easy it had become for her to lie to me. And how easy it had been for me to let her. I tried talking to my brother about it. We were on the phone late one night. I was sitting on the back steps, staring at the spot where the grill had stood during the party. Do you think I'm overthinking this? I asked. He didn't answer right away. Then, do you trust her? I didn't know what to say. He let the silence sit before adding, Jack, if you're asking that question, then you already know the answer. And he was right. A few days later, I tested something. I asked her if she wanted to do a weekend trip, just the two of us. Crater Lake, like we used to. No phones, no plans, just us and the quiet. She smiled and said it sounded amazing, but she couldn't swing it with work right now. Too much going on. Maybe next month. I didn't push. Just nodded. But I knew. She wasn't planning work calls. She was planning something else. I started noticing more subtle shifts. She wore makeup to the gym now she never used to. She had new lingerie tags I found at the bottom of the bathroom trash, yet I hadn't seen her wear anything like that for me in months. She had new passwords for everything, her laptop, her Apple ID, even her smartwatch. It was like she was building a private world right next to mine, but with no door between them. I kept telling myself I was imagining things. That maybe I was being paranoid and insecure. But deep down, I wasn't just guessing anymore, I was connecting dots. And the image they formed wasn't blurry. It was a picture of a woman I still loved and didn't recognize anymore. One night, I came home late after grabbing drinks with an old friend from college. When I walked in, she was on the couch in sweatpants, watching some rom-com, laughing like everything was fine. She muted the TV when she saw me. "You okay?" she asked. I stared at her for a second too long. "Yeah," I said. But the truth was, no. I wasn't okay. Not anymore. Something had cracked inside me at that party, and now the fracture was spreading. I wasn't angry yet. Not really. Not the kind of anger that explodes. But I could feel something else, something colder. A kind of quiet detachment. A numbness. Like I was slowly building distance between who I thought she was and who I was starting to believe she'd become. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I wasn't ready. I didn't have proof. Only instincts. But I knew something was happening. And once you see it, once you really see it, you can't unsee it. The person you trust the most suddenly becomes a stranger wearing their skin. And every glance, every word, every touch makes you wonder if it's just muscle memory or if it ever meant anything at all. So I stayed quiet. Watched closer. And waited. Because sometimes the truth doesn't come with a bang. Sometimes it trickles in slow, steady, impossible to ignore. The next morning, I didn't go home. I woke up early, grabbed a duffel bag, and drove. No real plan, just needed to be somewhere else. I didn't even leave a note. Courtney had a late session planned anyway, or so she said. Maybe she'd think I'd gone for a run or to the store. Let her wonder. Let her sit in that silence. I ended up at my brother Ryan's place in Portland. It's funny how you can sit next to someone you've known your whole life and still not know how to start. I walked through his front door with barely a word. He took one look at my face and didn't ask anything. Just offered me the couch and a bottle of whiskey. We didn't talk about Courtney that night. We didn't talk much at all. I sat in his living room, staring at the ceiling, listening to the hum of the fridge and the occasional car outside. I didn't feel like a man anymore. I felt like a prop. Something someone else had used in a story I didn't even know I was part of. The next afternoon, I headed back to the house. Not because I wanted to see her, I just wasn't ready to explain anything to Ryan yet. I needed space to think. To process. To stop feeling like I was spiraling. She wasn't home when I got there. The house was too quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't feel peaceful, it feels off. Like something's missing but you can't quite name it. That house used to feel like ours. Now it just felt like a set waiting for the next scene. I wandered into the kitchen, hoping that maybe this time I'd be able to look around and not see ghosts. But I did. I saw the party. The string lights. Her laugh with Tony. The smudge on his collar. The way she'd walked past me like it never happened. That moment hadn't left me. It kept replaying in my head like an itch I couldn't scratch. And then I saw it. Her tablet. Sitting on the kitchen island. Courtney rarely used the thing unless she was meal planning or playing those puzzle games she liked. It was plugged in. Unlocked. For years, she was the one who used to say, "There are no secrets in a marriage." I picked it up. Not because I was looking for a reason to fight, I didn't want drama. I just wanted clarity. I wanted to stop feeling like I was losing my mind. It didn't take long. I opened the Messages app. There they were. Hundreds of them. A thread with a contact saved under just the letter T. It wasn't just Tony. It was him. It started innocently enough. "Great session today. You really pushed me." I needed that. The kind of thing you could almost excuse. Then it shifted. "You looked incredible tonight. That dress was dangerous. You're addictive." I still think about that night in the car. And from her. Sometimes I feel bad. But only for a second. It's like he doesn't even see it. Like he's too busy playing husband to notice. I wore that color on purpose. I knew you'd like it. My hands went cold. It wasn't just an affair. It was a game. A performance. A setup. And then I saw something that hit harder than everything before it. A message from her, sent 2 days after the party. That slap was the best part. He didn't even know it was coming. Everyone was watching and he just stood there. I've never felt so in control. Slap? What slap? I racked my brain. Did I miss something? Then I remembered, near the end of the night, she'd playfully tapped my cheek when I joked about her hovering too much near the grill. Everyone had laughed, including me. I'd laughed. But reading her message now, that moment clicked into a new shape. She hadn't tapped me. She had humiliated me. Deliberately. In front of people. For him. For fun. I kept reading. I don't know why. Maybe part of me thought I'd find a message that said it was all a mistake. That she felt guilty. That she was scared of losing me. But there wasn't any of that. Instead, I found messages where they picked me apart like I was a character in a sitcom. Jack the Gentle. Jack the Dependable. Jack the Doormat. He'd written, the dude's too soft. He'll never see it coming. He thinks being stable is a flex. And she replied, he's not even angry. It's pathetic. Sometimes I wonder what it would take to wake him up. And still, no guilt. Just more plans. More times they could meet. Ways they could cover their tracks better. I'm going to start leaving my phone at the studio, she wrote. Just in case. He suspects something, he said. We should back off. But she didn't. They didn't. I felt nothing. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just this weird, hollow emptiness. Like someone had scooped the core out of me and left the shell standing. I put the tablet down. Walked to the bathroom. Washed my face. Stared at myself in the mirror until the water on my cheeks dried. And I realized my marriage wasn't dying. It was already dead. What I'd found wasn't just infidelity. It wasn't even betrayal. It was contempt. They didn't just cheat on me. They laughed about it. They celebrated it. And somehow I hadn't seen it. I walked back into the kitchen and sat down. The clock on the wall ticked like a metronome. I stared at the counter, the spot where I used to leave her coffee each morning, and I thought, this isn't salvageable. This isn't something you fix. It was already broken. And I just hadn't wanted to admit it. I didn't pack my bags that night. I didn't burn her things or smash dishes or call Ryan. I didn't do any of the things you see in movies. I just sat there in the silence. 4 hours. Because sometimes silence tells you everything. She walked through the front door like nothing had changed. It was just past 7. The sun hadn't set yet and the house glowed with that golden hour warmth that used to feel like home. She tossed her keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, the one we picked out together on a rainy Saturday at the market, and slipped off her shoes. Her heels clattered softly against the floor, echoing in a house that suddenly felt too big for 2 people. Hey, she said casually, unbothered. You're home early. I didn't respond. I was sitting at the kitchen table, tablet where I'd left it, screen dark now but still warm. My duffel bag sat near my feet, half-zipped, clothes folded with more care than I thought I'd manage. Courtney glanced at the bag, then back at me. Something flickered behind her eyes, not panic, not guilt. Just mild curiosity. Like I was doing something quirky. Like I was overreacting. You going somewhere? She asked, walking into the kitchen, opening the fridge. She pulled out a LaCroix, popped the tab, took a sip. The nonchalance was almost impressive. I just looked at her. Really looked. She was in leggings, hair in a tight ponytail, hoodie unzipped just enough to show a sports bra underneath. The after-training look she'd perfected. The one she probably wore after more than just training. She leaned against the counter, sipping her drink. You're quiet, she said, finally acknowledging the tension in the room. Everything okay? That was it? That line? The casual, blank stare. The way she still played it like a script, as if I didn't already know everything. As if the truth hadn't already burned a hole through the floor. I stood up, picked up the duffel bag, slung it over my shoulder. Where are you going? She asked, more puzzled than worried. I'm leaving, I said calmly. That got her attention. Her expression shifted, not in the way you might expect. Not desperation or remorse. No tears. No apologies. Just irritation. Like she was trying to solve a puzzle that suddenly didn't make sense. Wait. What? Why? I walked past her, not touching her, not brushing her arm. The last time we touched, I couldn't even remember. A real touch, not a shoulder tap or a polite peck on the cheek. Jack? Her voice sharpened. I stopped at the doorway. Don't do this, she said. Talk to me. I turned slowly. Looked her dead in the eye. I read the messages, I said. On your tablet. Her breath hitched for half a second, then steadied. You went through my stuff? She asked, folding her arms. That was her response. Not denial. Not defense. Accusation. You left it open, I said. And after everything? You don't get to flip this around. She scoffed. You're being dramatic. That word. Dramatic. Like I was overreacting to finding out my wife had been playing games with another man, mocking me, planning moments to embarrass me, dissecting my personality like it was a joke she could pass around via text. "I'm not doing this," I said. "I'm not standing here so you can gaslight me one more time. I know what I saw. And now I know who you are." Her face shifted, a flicker of something. Was it fear? Or just the realization that the game was finally over? "Jack, it's not that simple." "It is," I said, cutting her off. "It really is." I walked to the door, grabbed my jacket off the hook. She followed. "What, you're just gonna walk out?" she asked, her voice growing sharper, more brittle. "Throw away a marriage over one mistake?" I laughed, a quiet, bitter sound. "One mistake." I repeated. "Is that what you call it? Was it one mistake when you planned that slap? When you said I was pathetic? When you laughed at me in texts like I was some housepet too dumb to notice?" She flinched. I shook my head. "You didn't just cheat, Courtney. You dismantled me. Piece by piece. And you enjoyed it." She looked at me, lips parted. Maybe she wanted to argue. Maybe she wanted to cry. But the tears didn't come. Not real ones anyway. "You're seriously going to give up on everything we've built?" she said, voice rising now. I turned the doorknob. "I didn't give up," I said. "You did. You gave up the second you decided I was just something to step on." Silence. She didn't stop me. I stepped outside. The air was cold but clean. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe. I walked to the car, duffel slung over my shoulder, and tossed it in the trunk. I didn't look back. I didn't wait for her to chase me. She wasn't going to. That wasn't how she operated. People like Courtney don't chase. They calculate. And right now, she was probably calculating what she could still salvage. How she could spin it. What she'd say to her friends. How to protect the version of herself she liked best, the victim. The misunderstood woman. But not to me. That mask had cracked. I drove to Ryan's and didn't say much when I arrived. He opened the door, took one look at me, and nodded. "You need a drink?" he asked. "Just sleep," I said. He nodded again. "Room's made up." I lay down on the mattress in his guest room, still dressed, no light, no sound but my own breathing, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't replay everything in my head. I didn't picture her in that dress. I didn't see the messages. I just saw the door closing behind me. I didn't feel powerful. I didn't feel vindicated. But I felt clear. And in that moment, clarity was enough. The next morning, she texted. "Courtney, can we talk?" I didn't answer. Then came the second message. "Courtney, please? I wasn't thinking straight. I never meant to hurt you like that." And a third, hours later. "Courtney, I feel empty. None of this is what I thought it would be." I stared at the screen. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I knew exactly what not to say. I powered off the phone, dropped it on the nightstand, and closed my eyes. I was done. Let her feel the silence she created. Let her sit with the weight of it. Because for the first time since all this began, I didn't need an apology. I just needed out. The first week at Ryan's was a fog. Not the kind that drapes over your brain and makes you forget. It was the heavy, silent kind. The kind that doesn't block the memories, just muffles them, dulls them until you can sit in a room and not feel like screaming every second. I didn't talk much. Neither did Ryan. He gave me space, which I needed more than I realized. It's strange, you never think you'll be grateful for a brother who can sit across from you on a couch and say nothing for an entire hour. But I was. The silence was medicine. Not soothing. Not easy. But necessary. Like surgery without anesthesia, painful but life-saving. Mornings were the worst at first. I'd wake up confused, halfway thinking I was still home. Still in that house with the white curtains and the smell of lemon cleaner in the hall. Then I'd remember and that hollow feeling would come roaring back. Like a bell inside me that wouldn't stop ringing. Courtney kept texting. The first few were soft. Apologetic. Timid. "I miss you. Please talk to me. I'm sorry. You were always too good to me. I didn't deserve you." Then the tone started shifting. "I don't know who I am without you. You don't get to just walk away. We were real, Jack. That part was real, wasn't it?" I didn't respond. Not to a single one. It wasn't about punishing her, I just had nothing left to give. I turned off notifications. Powered off the phone some days just to avoid seeing her name. I told Ryan not to mention her even when he wanted to ask how I was doing. We had an unspoken agreement. The only thing worse than talking about it was talking around it. So instead, I focused on things that didn't need words. I ran every morning. At first it was just a mile, barely dragging myself through it. Then it was 3, 5. Eventually, I was waking up before the sun and letting the cold air slap me awake, watching my breath fog up as I pounded the pavement. I took cold showers. Not for the health benefits, but because the sting reminded me I was alive. I built a workbench in Ryan's garage. I'd never been particularly handy, but there was something grounding about shaping wood. The feel of a smooth plane. The sound of a saw cutting clean through something solid. I stopped looking in mirrors for a while. Not because I hated what I saw, but because I didn't recognize it. I went days without speaking more than a few sentences. It was like my voice had been tied up with hers, as if everything I used to say was meant for an audience that no longer existed. I started journaling, though I never called it that out loud. Just scribbles, pieces of thoughts. Lists of things I remembered from better days. Questions I didn't want answers to. One page I still remember writing. Where did she go? Was she always this person? Did I stop being enough, or did she never think I was? Then beneath that, why do I still want to miss her? That part messed with me. Because as much as I hated what she did, as much as I felt the betrayal in my bones, there was still this strange gravitational pull toward the memory of her. The version of her I loved. I had to teach myself not to reach for that version. That woman no longer existed. Maybe she never did. Some days I replayed the party in my head. Frame by frame. Her dress. His collar. The fake laugh. I'd imagine storming in, calling them out right there in the kitchen, throwing him out of my house and dragging the truth into the light in front of everyone. But the truth is, I'm glad I didn't. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because that kind of scene would have been for her, not me. Instead, I let it rot. Quietly. Privately. And maybe that's what finally broke the spell. There's a moment in grief, a very specific one, when the pain stops being sharp. When it stops feeling like fire and starts feeling like frost. Numb. Cold. Still there, but no longer running the show. That moment came one morning, just after a run. I was standing in Ryan's kitchen, drinking burnt coffee from a chipped mug. The sun was just starting to rise through the window. And I felt okay. Not great. Not healed. But okay. Like maybe for the first time in weeks, I wasn't drowning. That's when I knew I was on my way back. Not to my old life, but to myself. I started answering texts again. Not Courtney's, those still stayed unread, untouched, filed away in a folder marked past. But I messaged my dad. My buddy Chris from college. My old mentor. I started calling people I hadn't talked to in years, people I'd lost while I was busy being someone's husband. And the strangest part? None of them said, "I told you so." Most didn't even mention her. They just asked if I was okay. They told me I was missed. That they were proud of me. Those conversations reminded me that I wasn't alone. That somewhere along the way I had let my world shrink until it was just me and her and the idea of us, and I'd forgotten how much else was out there. Courtney's messages eventually slowed. Then stopped. Or maybe she blocked me after realizing I wasn't going to give her the redemption arc she was chasing. Either way, I didn't check. One night, I sat in the garage and lit a fire in the old steel barrel Ryan used for scrap wood. I brought out a shoebox filled with old cards, printed photos, a few letters she'd written me when we were still pretending to be in love. I burned them, one by one. No ceremony, no tears, just ash, smoke, and silence. That's how I knew I was done waiting for closure. I didn't need it from her anymore. I was making my own. It had been 8 months since I left. I was at the grocery store. Not my usual one, just a smaller place off the highway where I'd stopped for eggs and coffee. When I saw her, Courtney, she looked diminished, not sick, not broken, just like someone who hadn't slept in a long time. Her hair was pulled back with no effort, and her face was bare. No makeup, no expression, really. She noticed me before I could turn away, froze for a moment, then walked over. "Jack," she said. Her voice had a tremble in it, like she was asking for permission just to speak. I nodded. Nothing more. "I know you don't owe me anything," she said, eyes searching my face. "But I'm sorry. I need to say that. Things didn't turn out the way I thought they would." I didn't answer. She looked down, hands fumbling with the sleeves of her coat. I thought I knew what I wanted. I thought I could control it all. But after everything, after you left, there's just been this emptiness. I still said nothing. Not out of cruelty. I just didn't feel anything to say. "I was wrong about you," she added. "About everything." That was the first honest thing I'd heard from her in over a year. And still, I didn't forgive her. Not because I was angry, but because forgiveness isn't a transaction you give just because someone finally asks. Courtney looked up at me like she wanted something, Not love, not even absolution, just a sign I still saw her as human. I did, but that didn't mean I owed her anything. So I said the only thing I could. Take care of yourself. And I walked away. A year passed. I moved to a small town near the coast. Quiet, weathered, peaceful. My house was modest. One floor, big windows, a little garden I didn't know how to take care of yet. But it felt mine. I started writing. Nothing serious. Just pages of reflection, story ideas, pieces of a life I was still rebuilding. Cooked more. Ran at sunrise. Learned to like black coffee again. And I met someone, Amber. She wasn't loud or flashy or trying to fix me. She asked questions. She listened. She showed up. She wasn't perfect. Neither was I. But we were real. Courtney became a name I didn't say out loud anymore. I didn't check her socials. I didn't ask friends about her. That part of my life faded like a photo left in the sun. Slowly, naturally, until it was just outlines and shadows. One morning, light spilled through my kitchen window as I stirred eggs on the stove, and I realized something strange. I was okay. The pain hadn't vanished. It still lived in some quiet room inside me, but it no longer ran the house. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't scared. I was free. Not because I'd won. Not because she'd lost. But because I'd finally walked far enough away from what broke me that I could hear myself again. And that voice? It was mine.